Hey guys, Bios Ramos, and today we are going to be talking about the 4-3 Miami Dolphins against the 5-2 Arizona Cardinals. And this game is on November 8th, 2020, and it is at 4:25 Eastern Standard Time, and it is on CBS. So, with all that being said, let's get into the video. So the Miami Dolphins come into this game obviously having a big win against the LA Rams, and then the Cardinals were on their bye week, but the week before they played the Seahawks, which is probably one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the league. So big win by them. It was an amazing game on Sunday Night Football. It was very entertaining to watch. Nonetheless, let's talk about Espn Matchup Predictor and where they have the Dolphins and the Cardinals at. So the Dolphins have a 30.1% chance of winning, with a tie being 0.2%, and then the Cardinals having 69.6% chance of winning. And then when we look at the betting odds is plus 4.5 for the Dolphins, minus 4.5 for the Cardinals. Money line is plus 190 for the Dolphins and minus 220 for the Cardinals. Over under is at 49. And when we look at some of the injuries, Matt Breida, running back, he is out. Jamal Perry, cornerback, he is questionable. And Lynn Bolden, the guy we traded for from the Raiders before the season started, he is on the COVID/IR list. But they say it's unrelated to the assistant coach that got it from on our team as well. And then when we look at the Arizona Cardinals, Ezekiel Turner, linebacker, he is questionable. Kenyon Drake, running back, obviously former Dolphin, he is out. Drake Kirkpatrick, cornerback, he is out. And Jordan Phillips, defensive end, former Dolphin as well, he is questionable. Now, when we look at some of the stuff heading into this game, we're going to look at some of the stats. Obviously, passing yards leader for the Dolphins is still Ryan Fitzpatrick with 138 completions for 197 attempts, 1,535 yards, 10 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. And then Kyler Murray, who's having a pretty good year so far, pretty much having similar somewhat stats to Ryan Fitzpatrick, at least passing-wise. 169 completions for 253 attempts, 1,847 yards, 13 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. And then when we look at the rushing leaders for both teams, Myles Gaskin, who is, I believe, out in this game. He had sprained his meniscus, if I'm not wrong. It's something with his knee. He hurt his knee. But he had 100 carries, 387 yards, 2 touchdowns. And then Kenyon Drake has 119 carries, 512 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Then we look at the leading receivers. Obviously, Arizona has one of the best receivers in the game. I'll talk about him after I talk about the Dolphins' best receiver, Devontae Parker. 30 receptions, 367 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Now, DeAndre Hopkins has 57 receptions, 704 yards, and 3 touchdowns. He's been lighting it up like it's nobody's business, and it's been pretty good. That trade that they did with the Houston Texans, which was an absolute robbery. They totally stole him. I mean, it's working out for the Arizona Cardinals. I mean, they're having so much more success than they were having in previous years. And, I mean, it's helping the development of Kyler Murray. Obviously, there's complaints, people saying that's a crutch for Kyler Murray. Like, okay, just toss it up to D-Hop. Yes and no. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, he's throwing the ball to a really good wide receiver, which is complementing his game, and they're complementing each other. So I don't see the real problem with that. But let's talk about some of the team stats and the team averages. So the Dolphins are averaging 26.9 points per game, and the Cardinals are averaging 29 points on average per game. And then the Dolphins are allowing 18.6 points per game, and the Cardinals are allowing 20.9 points per game. So pretty evenly matched up when you look at the statistics in sense of points. I mean, it's not even like 2 points off on points scored, and then 2 points off when it comes to points allowed. And then when it comes to offensive total yards, this is where the biggest difference is, though. The Dolphins are averaging 331 yards, 0.9 yards per game. Meanwhile, the Cardinals are averaging 428, 24.6. And then when it comes to passing, the numbers are pretty similar, just a couple yards off. Dolphins are averaging 233.9 yards passing, and the Cardinals are averaging 263.9. Now, when it comes to rushing, this is where the Cardinals are having a lot more success, with 98 yards per game, which is the Dolphins. And then the Cardinals are having 160.7. Obviously, a lot of that is credit to do with Kyler Murray, him being a scrambling quarterback and really evading some tacklers and some sacks and picking up some big yards, big plays, big touchdowns, yada, yada, yada. You get the point. Now, when we come to yards allowed, so the defensive stats, Dolphins are allowing 399 yards per game. Cardinals are allowing 399.3. And then when it comes to pass yards allowed, Dolphins are allowing 273.9, and the Cardinals are allowing 268.1. Rush yards allowed, the Dolphins are a little bit better here with 125.1, and the Cardinals are allowing 131.1. Now, when you look at the last 5 for both teams, the Dolphins have gotten all their wins in the last 5. Obviously, a loss to Seattle was the only one in the last 5. They beat Jacksonville, lost to Seattle, won against San Francisco, won against the Jets, and beat the LA Rams. And when you look at the Cardinals, they lost to Detroit, lost to Carolina, and then went on a 3-game winning streak against the Jets, Cowboys, and Seahawks. Now, the only really credible win there is the Seahawks. Obviously, the Seahawks was a really good team, and they had to go into overtime to beat them. So, not taking any credit away from them, not whatsoever. But the 2 teams they lost to, not so great teams. Cardinals, the Cardinals losing to the Panthers and the Detroit Lions. Now, with all that being said, let's talk about the ways the Dolphins could win this game, and if they do pull these things through, they could easily win this game. Let's start on defense, because that's where we've been having a lot of success this year. And that starts with limiting Kyler Murray to not getting any extra yardage on broken down plays, missed tackles, broken sacks, stuff like that. Like, we cannot, once we get in contact with Kyler Murray, we need to bring him down. We cannot allow him to have an additional yardage that is going to be killer to the Miami Dolphins. That's first and foremost, because he is the focal point of this offense. Cliff Kingsbury, I believe I said his name right, the head coach, literally went to Arizona because they had the number 1 pick, and he's like, if I get Kyler Murray in my system, we'll do great things. Obviously, year 1 didn't do so well. Year 2, with some added weapons, doing great. So if we get to Kyler Murray and limit his escapability and really force him to make some throws, and I believe in the secondary that they could have success in creating turnovers if we get pressure, like how we did last week against Jared Goff. I'm not saying we give the same looks, because Jared Goff is a little bit more of a more stationary quarterback than Kyler Murray. I believe Kyler Murray is one of the most mobile quarterbacks in the league right now. The way he just moves is pretty crazy. He's pretty up there with Lamar Jackson on the sense of how he gets around the field with his legs. But, so we get to Kyler Murray. Obviously, force him to make errant throws, like kind of how we did to Jared Goff last week. But I don't think we're going to be giving the same type of looks with the zero blitz and stuff like that. But offensively, we may have Austin Jackson coming back. Not too sure about that, but if he's not back this week, he's more than likely going to be back next week, which is going to help the offensive line a lot. Obviously, we played a pretty nasty defensive line in the Rams. Honestly, they have a really good defensive line, and you saw early and often they were getting into his face. So we got to allow Tua to not feel so much pressure so he can deliver some good throws. So having a good offensive line play in general is going to be what's going to be very good to this team. Obviously, not only in the passing game to protect Tua, in the running game, so we can have whoever is going to be at running back, because Matt Breida and Myles Gaskin are supposed to be out this game. So we're going to probably see Jordan Howard activated. Patrick Laird is going to be getting the ball a lot, and more players like that. So, and the guy we just traded for Washington out of Kansas City, used to be an Oakland Raider, and we traded away Isaiah Ford. I forgot to mention that. I didn't make a trade video. I was pretty backed up with school and stuff like that. But we traded away Isaiah Ford to the Patriots, and then traded for a running back from the Chiefs who was previously on the Raiders, who was pretty good. I wouldn't say he was great, but he was pretty good. Just an average NFL running back that's kind of like a backup player. But the Dolphins are doing good. They're spreading the ball around. It's not too much of how when we had J.J. here, that J.J. was only getting the ball, and when we were throwing the ball, we're only throwing it to Devontae Parker. Like, no, it's the offense is spread it out, and it's anyone who can contribute will contribute and make an effort towards helping this team have success. Now, with all that being said, offensively, great offensive line play will literally do wonders for this offense. Last week there was a lot of pressure, and we couldn't really get much going offensively. So I want to see that change this week. Special teams, Jason Sanders, stay perfect, man. Doing really good. I'm pretty sure he's going to have a Pro Bowl type of year, and this is the year that we don't have a Pro Bowl, I believe, which kind of sucks, but, it is what it is. I'm really liking how Brian Flores is coaching this team and building successful play the right way. It's not immediate success. We didn't have a great season last year, but if you look at the comparison from last year at this point in the year to this point in this year, I mean, at this point in the last year, we wouldn't even have a win. Literally, this is the week that we got our first win last year. So when we look at how far this team is progressing from one year to another, monumental steps. We're 4-3, and last year at this point in the season we were 0-7, and then we got our first win against the New York Jets. So that's about all I have to say for today's video. I will be coming out with a post-game video after the game tomorrow or today, whenever you guys see this. And not only that, I will be coming out with a mid-season review at some point of next week. Sometime either before or after my game picks video. So if you haven't checked out the game picks video yet, check it out. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I got my pick right of Thursday Night Football. And yeah, I did. It was the Green Bay Packers. But besides that, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a nice thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe. Click the post notification bell if you haven't done it yet. And lastly, follow me on Twitter and Instagram at @ByAustinRamos. And fins up, baby.